Got it. Which mic? Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's yours truly, Jeffrey L. Boney, bringing you another hot edition of Trending Tuesday. So happy to have you join us during this holiday season. And speaking of holiday season, we're going to definitely be talking about things tied to the holiday season, things that we tend to come across every year. We hear stuff about Black Friday and, Cyber Monday. And well, today is Giving Tuesday. And it's an annual effort that many nonprofits take advantage of and other entities to give towards a cause, an organization, an effort that benefits others, benefits the community, benefits a particular cause. And so joining me today to talk about Giving Tuesday and philanthropy in general are none other than the founder of K Davis in the community, as well as the person that has brought you all Trending Tuesdays, none other than the K Davis, Danette Davis. Come on, y'all. Y'all can give it up. Come on, y'all. Y'all act like y'all. Oh, let me rewind that. None other than Danette Davis. Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. That's better now. I know we got a live studio audience. All right, and then, of course, also joining us today to talk about her efforts, she is talking about Coats of Compassion, none other than Tanya Dixon, as well as another nonprofit, Toys of Hope. Toys of Hope. And so let's give it up for Tanya Dixon, everyone. All right. And I just wanted to start off by sharing a few things. There's a few quotes that I want to share with you. But first, there's a term that is oftentimes associated with volunteerism or giving. Someone who gives of their time, their money, their skills, their, as I say, time, talent, and treasure, a philanthropist. You've heard the term philanthropy, or someone who is a philanthropist. That's someone who gives of themselves. It doesn't always have to be money, although that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about Giving Tuesday, and we're talking about contributing and giving towards certain efforts in the community. Of course, you can give to whatever your heart's passion and desire is, whatever is a cause that you support. One of the efforts that I've always given to annual is an organization called Families Against Mandatory Minimums. I'm not sure if everybody's heard of that, but it was started by a lady whose brother was incarcerated over a small amount of drugs, and he was sentenced to life in prison as a result of this thing. And he had a couple of other past issues as far as crime, trying to turn his life around, but he got caught up during that time when Bill Clinton and that administration brought forth a couple of things. One was called a 3-strike rule, and the other one was a heavy emphasis on mandatory minimums. And the thing about a mandatory minimum sentence is it does not allow a federal judge or local judge, a municipal court judge, to deviate from whatever is on the books, whether it's a state law, federal law, for certain crimes. And so if you did this particular crime, and say, for instance, you had your third strike or you're a multiple offender, they say for this particular crime or this particular issue, you get a mandatory minimum sentence of 25 years. So it could have been a extenuating circumstances, something that could be explained away, but because of mandatory minimum sentencing, that person, that judge cannot deviate from that. They're going to get that 25 years. I don't know if y'all remember that story about the lady in Florida who fired a warning shot into the wall because she had an abusive husband, et cetera, et cetera. She was issued a mandatory minimum sentence because of that action, because she used a gun, a firearm, and they tied that to a felony, if you will, felony offense, aggravated assault offense, and she was given a mandatory minimum sentence of 26 years, I want to say it was. I don't know right off the top of my head, but I give to that organization because they fight for individuals who are impacted by the so-called justice system, you know, because they're receiving these mandatory minimum sentences for cases and issues that probably they shouldn't have received that amount of time for. So anyway, there's a lot of efforts, a lot of organizations, a lot of things that are out there that you can give towards, and I encourage you to do so. You know, most of us black folks do understand philanthropy because we go to church.
Oh, absolutely.
And so if there's anything about philanthropy that black folks know about, it's philanthropy. We know about volunteering on the usher board.
Yeah, we do.
You know, singing in the choir. And then when pastor have his anniversary.
Oh, boy.
You know, we give to the pastor's anniversary. They have like a whole bunch of collections. Yeah, they have the anniversary, the birthday, the wedding anniversary. They have all kinds. But we understand, and then tithes and offerings.
Yeah.
So if it's one thing that black people do understand and know, is philanthropy and giving, and not just money, but volunteerism. But there are other efforts, there are other causes that need our support, you know, diligently. So there are these quotes I want to share. One from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. It says, quote, "Life's persistent and most urgent question is, what are you doing for others?" Other quote is from Robert Louis Stevenson. He's a Scottish novelist. Many of you may know him from some of his works, Treasure Island, and you know, various things like that. And so anyway, he says, quote, "Don't judge each day by the harvest you reap, but by the seeds you plant." Another is by Pablo Picasso, a sculptor, artist. Many of you may know. He said, quote, "The meaning of life is to find your gift. The purpose of life is to give it away." And lastly, since we talked about church in the Bible, 2 Corinthians 9:7 says, "We all should give what we have decided in our hearts to give, not reluctantly or under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver."
Yeah.
So giving is not just about making a donation, it's about making a difference.
Yeah.
And that's what we're here to talk about tonight, making a difference and an impact. So we'll start with you, Danette, and I know I could talk forever about many of the efforts and things that I think are worthy causes to give towards, but let's talk about K. Davis in the community. Tell us about why you started K. Davis in the community and some of the things that you've done and are doing in the community.
Okay. You know, it's interesting when you talk about philanthropy in the church. You know, Tanya, I never thought about it, but we doing some serious philanthropy in the church. Because, you know, from a kid, you volunteering, you're giving of your talents, you know, and your dollars and what have you. And we really not really thinking about what, you know, and the church is there to serve the community, right? You know, so I guess when you say that, it really was interesting because I've never really thought about it like that. I just thought church was just something you do, right? But it also, when I think about it now, it feeds back into part of how I think. Because you got those kind of folk that are in the church every time the door open because they're the superintendent of Sunday school and he's Santa Claus at Christmas and, you know, so you're making the little bags for folk and everything. And then you had to be secretary to Sunday school. You can imagine that in 8th grade. And those kind of things. Then what you start to see, and I had to really think about about that. I had a grandfather. I grew up in Conroe, in a small town, and he was an electrician. So he would go and work at the Conroe Electric Company during the day and do the things that he got paid for. And then he'd come home, change clothes after he ate, and then he would, the black community. Then it'd be the Mr. So-and-so car from the church and Mr. So-and-so car, you know what I'm saying? Then he'd go do the work at probably half the cost. Mm-hmm. And I didn't think about it later until, that I'd been seeing that all my life, but I thought that's just how life was. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize that you had a choice but to give back. And I didn't really, so what happened was, as you finally start figuring some things out, because God knows your struggle, mm-hmm. you didn't have all the answers, and then God blesses you a little bit and you make a few dollars. What I started noticing was, asked for stuff, and I felt compelled to try to help. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? I may not have $2 more than you, but you get one, I get one. We, right. Tomorrow, but we live to, eat another day, whatever. So I think with the business, honestly, we were being asked to do things. And I'm big on education. Mm-hmm. I worked at TSU for 18 years, and mm-hmm. And a lot of the work we do now with K. Davis Associates, which is where a lot of my dollars have had to come from, or what have you. We do a lot of school furniture and things like that. So schools and education is really important to me, right? 2 kids that are both teachers, right? So, and I think how it started earlier, it was, because schools pay for things, but there's some things they don't pay for. Sometimes they don't have buses, right. And they don't have, those ad valorem things. We learned that word, what have you. And so, Danette, would you, and so I, write a check, sure, I'll help with that, help with this or whatever. And slowly it became, well, you may as well kind of start a nonprofit because you're basically doing the work, right? And I think about in the beginning, some of the work that I ended up doing, because I said I was going to go in order because I can be all over the place when we talk about the art, the thing. Danette was a dancer first, and what have you. I did a lot of public speaking as a kid, and then I did theater. I was at the ensemble for 10 years and all that. So you love performance art, but I was fortunate enough to have a college roommate who was an artist. She's a very good artist. She's a renowned artist or what have you. And you don't think much about that either because, it's just your life as you live it. But in Houston, I think this first gift that I think is the major gift, which was the Houston Treasures Project. Yes. And it's art. And I think that's why I met Tanya, Bishop Dixon, all of those folk, and Avery or what have you. I just was trying to do an interview series because there's some folk that had done some wonderful things in my life. James Douglas, Georgia Provost, Reverend Lawson, who had made such a difference, and they were like unsung heroes in the real sense. I got to know Reverend Lawson, and I'm like, oh my God, this guy's, second to Martin Luther King, Yeah. But the things that had happened in Houston, it's just that they happened, but Houston is always such a powerful city, and it's all about moving forward, business. So I was told, well, when integration happened, I could ask you guys out in the audience, do you remember something about Houston that had to do with integration? And most folk would go, the sit-in. All they remember is the sit-in, the TSU one time. They don't remember anything else, right? But a lot was going on behind the doors. And so I said, I wanted to know. So it started out as an interview series with Reverend Lawson, because I was told he was in the room. And I'm talking about when they integrated Houston, right? Reverend Lawson, Bill Hobby, the newspapers, what have you. The guy that owned Foley's store. And it's a story that, I'm like, really? And it's like, no, they sit in the room, and they just decided, we got the Astrodome coming, and we got the Port of Houston coming, and these folk over here acting crazy at TSU. Right. And we don't want to be on the news, so we need to go ahead and integrate. I'm like, that's unreal. Are you serious? And after actually speaking with him, I really started to really see Houston through a different light and understand that is really kind of, Douglas, when I interviewed him, he said, well, my dad had an account. And of course, we couldn't try on the shoes, but, Reverend Lawson said, well, one day they just said, okay, tell you what, when you come in, then we're just going to say, would you like to try on those shoes? And it was integrated. I'm like, okay, that's crazy. Mm-hmm. The reason I'm saying that is because I started out doing an interview series just to learn something about Houston. And the 3 people that I ended up interviewing, their roads all intersected at TSU. It was the funniest thing. It didn't start out being about TSU, but I started to learn something about what TSU really meant to the community, right? So I did the interview series first. I said, I want to do something special. And so I said, what would last? How can I really make an impact? And that was the first time I donated a statue. It's called the Warrior Statue. It's Chaka Zulu. And it has a shield. It's over at TSU. Right now, I donated to them. It's in their gallery. And it's got those three people on there. There it is. It's on the screen for those you want to see it, or what have you, there. And I decided to do that as a three-part donation to the university. You know, because one of the things we talk about is a school that to me was valuable, and I got invaluable exposure and training at TSU. We should give back. So I said, okay, well, to me, to give them the statue, to do the interview series, and then to do the dollars, what have you. Let's have a scholarship fund, what have you. So I looked into it and found out if we donated, they would match. See, people don't realize, and I'm saying this for those that don't know, TSU has a matching fund. When federal government sued TSU in Prairie View, they put some money in place, but you can only get it if it's matching funds, which means you got to come out of your pocket and then they'll match. So I wanted to maximize that.
Yeah.
So the idea on the shield is for people who may want to just have their name on the shield, and then when we donate those monies to the university, that would match. But
So that was your introduction into giving back to the community.
Giving back to the community.
And it was really just more, you started off with a plan, a desire to just want to get to know these people through an interview series, and it morphed into something greater.
It did.
Yeah.
It did. But then we talk, and I think then having, like I said, to have a friend that actually has that kind of talent. So this is where the art comes in.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? I used to dance or what have you. I played an instrument. I can't sing at all. Can't hold a tune.
Like Soul Train dance, like going down the Soul Train, or ballet?
No. I literally danced with Houston Jazz Ballet. Where Patsy Swayze trained me or whatever and stuff. I didn't know. I just saw it on TV one day and thought, you know what? I was bold enough, Jeff, to go down over there, take dance lessons, and was fortunate enough to actually be put in the dance company. Long before Swayze was, he was just down there taking classes during that time or what have you. So we did that. Allows me to breathe. I'm putting it like that. So when we start talking about philanthropy, you want to make sure it's something you really enjoy doing.
So Tanya, tell us about why you enjoy doing what you do. Compassion.
Compassion and action.
And action.
Yeah, it's compassion and
action.
action.
But you have two efforts.
So compassion and action is an umbrella, actually, for the entities that we serve in partnership with Good Game USA and the Community of Faith. We're an entity of the Community of Faith. And so what we do, for instance, if you say what I do as personally, I live to serve others. That's my life. That's my life's purpose. So after COVID hit, or really before COVID hit, I began to know that God was shifting me from being the director of our private school and early childhood development after 35 years.
Wow.
And so I was like, because of that's my heart, but I began to feel the shift coming. COVID hit, and Bishop Dixon just said one thing: people can't come in the church, how are we going to serve them? We were in a leaders meeting, and that's when the vision came very clear to me. Go start taking people food. They're hungry. Go nourish their body. Then you can nourish their spirit. And then you can nourish everything else concerning them, because people have other needs, which is why they are having the need of food, right? So you gotta meet the first need first. And so I began with got a team of volunteers together, and began serving 5 apartment complexes.
All right, let me back up. Let me back up a little bit, because you mentioned a couple of things. You mentioned feeding folks, and you also mentioned COVID. So during that time, money was a little tight and scarce during that time, and the ability to to get out there and do some of the things that you were doing was a little challenging as well. So how did you start this, fund this?
Actually, I prayed because people were out of the church. And so most times when people are out of church, we know their money is not in church, right? And I was just blessed to be able to be connected with the right people, with the right resources to fuel the vision. And the church did not have to pay one penny for it. It just gave us the housing for it. And so we began feeding lunch, supper, and snack to children in 5 apartment complexes, 5 days a week.
Wow.
Is what we did. Knowing that we were only able to feed children through those particular means, they have parents that are at home hungry. So you don't want to leave the parents out, because what'll happen most times if the children go home with food and the parents are hungry, or somebody over the age of 18, what's going to happen? They're going to have to share that food or give up that food. And so we began researching how could we just provide groceries, not a meal for families, but groceries for the family. And we always had a food pantry, but not to this magnitude. And so we began our mobile food distribution, where at that time we were feeding a couple of thousands of people, providing groceries, I should say, for a couple of thousands of people every week. Every Wednesday. You couldn't get down Pinemont and Shepherd or through the neighborhood, because we would reroute the cars through the neighborhood because the people were complaining about the traffic jams and everything. And so we were blessed to do that. Today we feed an average of 3,000 to 4,000, provide groceries for 3,000 to 4,000 people every week. Still,
Wow.
we've not stopped.
Wow. Now, at what point did you have to hire people or get staff? Was this all volunteer driven, or how does this come in? Because it's a big undertaking.
All volunteerism. And we call our volunteer team the Compassion in Action Team, CIA team. And we're so blessed to have people from all nationalities that serve with us, because it's the community is who it is. And so they come in, and they've been serving with us, many of them, over 50% of them, since the first time we started when before COVID hit, as COVID hit.
Wow. And you have another endeavor as well, Toys.
So we have our annual, we're in our 10th year of our annual Toys of Hope season. And Good Gang USA, the Community of Faith Church, Compassion in Action, we partner. Good Gang USA started Toys of Hope and Coats of Compassion. Very blessed to be able to touch and impact the lives. And we say putting a toy in a child's hand not only puts a smile on their face, but it puts hope in their hearts. And you can see the gleam of hope in their eyes when they get that toy. Not only do you see the gleam of hope in the children's eyes, but you see it in the parents' eyes. Parents come through crying during that time just by the children getting a few toys. Because they were hopeless before they entered into that space. They enter into a positive atmosphere where hope is actually saturated. So getting the toy or the coat is a good thing. It helps. But we all know that they're going to outgrow the coats. Many of the toys will be pushed to the side after a couple of weeks. But hope is something that they can hang on to and will help lead them out of where they are into their more promised place.
Yes. Well, one of the things that I realize, and any organizational team, leaders, founders, will tell you the same thing, is for you to have a vision is one thing, but for you to fund it, like that saying goes, you may have a vision, but you need provision in order to carry out your vision. And I've been a part of the nonprofit world, the philanthropic world for many years. I've served on boards. I've started my own nonprofits and ran successfully nonprofits, and have served on boards of successful of nonprofits and organizations. But the one thing that always rings true, no matter how big or how small, is the desire, the need for funding, for resources.
Yes.
And so that's why I believe Giving Tuesday is so important, because it doesn't matter what you do, what your cause and your passion is, whoever you serve, target, try to help, it takes funding.
Yes.
And, we were talking yesterday. I hosted was on the host committee for the mayor president of Baton Rouge, who was in town. We hosted a fundraiser for her. She's in a tough re-election campaign right now, but we're claiming victory this weekend for her. But the thing is, everybody in there, who all of us are elected officials mostly, will say, one of the toughest things about being an elected official is asking for money. You know what I'm saying? We just want to do the work. We want to serve. We want to be public servants. But in order to do that, it takes asking for money. And
Yes.
many times, like you, and many of you that may have nonprofits that are viewing or in the audience, we want to do the work. But sometimes when it comes to asking for the money or getting the money, it can be a challenge. What do y'all think thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I'm gonna.
Needs always outweigh the actual resources because the needs are always going to be greater. So you're going to always have a need to have money to meet those needs. It's the reality. There's only so much you can do with little funds, with small funds. If you want to make greater impact, you're going to have the funding to do it. And that's why collaboration is really important. Just like with Kay Davis and the community is a collaborative partner with us this year with the Coast of Compassion. It takes that to make greater impact. We can do it. We can continue doing it the way we're doing it. Let's say we didn't have Kay Davis and in the community. We didn't have Top Ladies of Distinction or Top Teens of America or Waste Connections, Kaylin Har and some of our other partners. If we didn't have them, we would have to be, the circle of our impact will be very small. But because we have those collaborative partners, it keeps expanding the reach, but it also empowers us to do more. And that's where you always want to be. And yes, it still takes, those are collaborative partners, and it takes money to be able to be a collaborative partner as well. And it takes all of us. And sometimes I think you mentioned about that we're philanthropists, even when we've not called ourselves philanthropists. And I think that's what happened, Danette, in the church. No one ever referred to us as being philanthropists. I think that's a good term to begin telling people, because in the Black community, people don't see themselves as philanthropists. We always look outside of the community for philanthropic people, right? When we are philanthropic people, perhaps if we celebrated one another for those things that we do, how we do serve and pitch in, maybe that'll make us say, oh, I'll put some more aside for this because I really now understand how my money is really impacting the people. What happens with us, our church, the people at our church understands that the community of faith, we do 20% of what we do on the inside of that cathedral dome, 80% outside the walls. That's how our whole structure is set up. So they understand that the money coming in is not for the mission of what's happening solely in the church, but it has to be that way so that we can continue touching the lives, being the hands, hearts, and feet of Jesus Christ outside those church walls.
The church definitely was the foundation of philanthropic efforts in the Black community, particularly in all of the communities, but particularly in the Black community. When you go back, I can go back to Richard Allen, who started the AME Church, first African American Methodist Episcopal. And when you look at his history and his story, of course being denied the opportunity to worship with whites, but starting AME, but they fought against slavery, to abolish slavery. But they also, he was an editor, a publisher of a newspaper, but he also collected monies. He provided shoes and other resources and had a school. And think about all of the schools that started, in our communities. They were birthed out of the Black church.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And so you think about who always gets vilified, and I hate it, and I always speak against people who talk down on the Black Panthers. The Black Panther Party was the most impactful group one of the most impactful groups in the history of America, especially Black America. All of these entities that utilize some of their services, free health care, Black Panther Party provided for Black people, for kids. You had the Head Start program and all of these different things that came out of the Black Panther Party taking care of their own. And so they were vilified as if they were the boogeyman, but they did so much. They taught us. They gave us the blueprint. Matter of fact, they gave us a blueprint, the 10-point plan on how not only to provide for ourselves, but also to protect ourselves. But the thing is, we have gone away from that. We've gone away from what the Black church experience used to be, how we took care of ourselves during so-called, during segregation and so-called integration. Well, we provided for ourselves in every single way. So we have a history. We have a blueprint to follow, but we have to get back to that because we got to take care of ourselves, especially come January, 3rd, 5th, whatever the date is. You know, when this new administration come in, trust me, if we don't learn that philanthropy is the way for us to help ourselves, giving amongst ourselves, and I ain't just talking about to make sure pastor got a Bentley or why I left my previous church because he asked us for helicopter blade money. Y'all get that on the way home. But the thing is, we have to do more to teach. Like you said, 20% for the operation of the church. But what are we doing for the community?
That's where it
How are we
comes.
giving back to the community? Not just giving turkeys away for Thanksgiving. But what are you doing to take care of the immediate needs? Because like you said earlier, Tanya, and I hate to go on this soapbox, but I got to, we look outside the community. We look for Superman to come save the day for us.
Yes.
We're looking for everybody else to come save the day. And then you have a lot of these non-Black entities that come, whether they churches or groups. I used to be on the board of one, all these rich white folks that served and me. And they couldn't wait for Thanksgiving and Christmas so they can come and shower the community with toys. And I told them one day, I said, yeah, y'all do this once a year. But what are you doing the other 364 days of the year?
Correct.
Okay, you come and feel good about giving to the poor Black folk, but what are you doing to take care of their everyday needs?
Right.
Well, one thing I'm going to say, knowing your history, Jeff, because see, one of the things we don't know is our history.
Right.
People don't know the truth about the Black Panther Party. So when they did the whole story about Black Panther, I don't know if people paid attention to where, when they landed here, where that was and the connection they tried to make between what they were doing and the fact that that was the Black Panther Party.
Right.
For those who knew the story, understood that was the connection they were making, that those people were the backbone. We knew they had breakfast programs and things like that. But if you don't teach it to the children, it kind of goes back to when I started out or what have you. It's like knowing that Memorial Park, was the whole story behind that, and knowing that those soldiers who didn't know that they were in the South, and Memorial Park, if you guys go out and look at that marker, it was a Black troop that, they just mowed down or what have you. They were trying to go save a brother who had done, was accused of something, and they walked into town and half of them got hung and all the horrible things that happened. And if you read it, people think Memorial Park is just a beautiful part of town where Black folks certainly don't live a lot of and that kind of thing, and it's a beautiful park. But you read that little thing, that marker, it'll tell you exactly what, but not knowing your history keeps you in a place, and it's kind of what, I guess, when you talk about philanthropy, and what we do and why we do it, what have you. I had my little cheat sheet notes here because I'm one of the ones, when you talk about folk that don't like to, and I call it, it's not begging. And they had to remind me, we were putting on some stuff last night, putting some things together, and they go, you're not begging, and it's like, I understand that, but I try to, self-sufficiency or what have you. And then even in an agency, like you said, you figured out a way to feed people first. You ask for help, but you got to get it done anyway. And that's one of the things, Jeff, I think with me, I feel like I have a responsibility to get it done, or what have you. And so what I'm learning to do is say, help me do the things we're doing, you know. But
Right.
but what I'm, you know, like the initiatives, and I'm gonna do real quick because I know we could go on, and I do want to. I'm learning more to talk about. Other people do better to tell you about what I do than I do, because they tell me, "Oh, you too humble, and you too," you know what I'm saying? And then say what you're doing. So I'm trying to get better at doing that, or what have you. I'd rather talk about just the things we're doing, but not the fact that I do them, or that I'm pushing behind. You know what I'm trying to say, or what have you? Because it's not about me. It's not ever about me. This podcast and the fact that you guys are here is not an accident, or what have you, that I picked Tanya, somebody who I see out there every Wednesday feeding people. I told Tanya, I said, girl, I said, I need to go before you. Because when I start talking about the art things we're doing in the schools and all of that, and you start talking about putting clothes on somebody's back, I'm not going to look so good when we start talking about basic needs, right?
Right.
But what we do have, Jeff, is the RAC grant, and it's Random Acts of Kindness. It's a grant, right? Now, I decided it was a grant. I don't have a grant, so I had to be the grant. I had to write the check when they wrote me and said, I've been diagnosed with cancer, and but I just need if somebody could pay my car notes for 2 months, because I got to go to California, and I have to have a new job, and I can't, you know. And so my angel, and I call them angels, came to me, you know, and said, you know, this person, this is what. And so how much is it? They give us a little note. We write them a check, pay the car note. You know, I have a person, and she takes care of veterans. And I was telling you this story. He had family, but the man didn't have a refrigerator. She said if he could just keep his food cold. This is ridiculous. I don't know the man. He's not African American either, okay? She just said, I just feel for him, you know? I said, well, how much is the refrigerator? So we found a refrigerator. Lauren and I went looking for a refrigerator, you know? And so it's a small thing, but it's not a small thing to him.
Right.
I'm in the store. I'm one of those kind of folk. I'm in the store, and I watched this lady, but she wanted those greens or whatever it was, you know, and I could see we were in HEB over there on Scott, and she walked around there, and she, you know, pondered, you know, and so she finally, you know, came back and got them, and I noticed, you know, it's kind of like they say, pay it forward.
Right.
She walked up there, and she put it on the counter, and so when they rang it up, I just gave them the money to cover it, and she looked at me, you know, it's weird. I guess what I'm saying is, we can be that. I don't have to always do this gigantic thing or what have you. But I bet you if I help the person next to me and around me and the family that you have, even your own family.
Yes.
A lot of times we talk about doing all these things and stuff, and you got a nephew, you know, that you know is struggling, that you could help.
Right.
You know, but you want to condemn him because he got to be perfect or whatever. But you're going to go up here and write a check at the church and talk about so-and-so, and you got somebody that needs some shoes, or you need, you know, we are our brother's keeper.
Yes, we are.
I'm that too. I'm that one in the family, just like you, Tanya, where Tanya told me she said she has a checking account. It's just for folks she know ain't going to never pay her back. She
So
said
you
they
don't-
would
you
never
don't
pay me
loan it out.
back.
If they
So you
ask
don't loan
for
it.
If they ask for it, if you can't live without it, then don't give it.
Exactly.
Because otherwise there's going to cause
It's a
some
setup.
friction between you and the person. So rather than
Guaranteed.
rather than destroy a relationship with someone over a few dollars, that really after
But they my few dollars, though.
they're your few dollars, but even after a couple of months, if you give it to them with the mindset, I'm giving this to you, whether you give it back to me or not, it's not going to hurt me.
Well, see, that's a gift.
It's a
now,
gift.
you came to me and asked me
so-
for a loan. I'm expecting my money back.
You're expecting it, but you don't fall out. This is where
I'm falling out. I'm
relationships
sorry.
are torn, or
falling out.
severed.
You took my money.
Right,
No, I'm
and
just
so
teasing. Go ahead.
but then because then you learn the person's character at that time. That's an
Right.
integrity issue.
Right,
In
facts.
most cases, it's an integrity issue. And then you approach me and say, "Well, I know, we had an agreement, and perhaps something came up, and you didn't think that it was necessary to talk to me about it. We can talk about it now."
I need to take your class, Tanya, because that was very
It's what we
polite.
can
That was
do.
a very polite way of saying
And then if they say something, that most times you can reason together at that point, because I don't think a relationship of any magnitude should be severed behind a dollar.
Yeah.
Life is too valuable. The person's life is too valuable. And oftentimes, they sometimes are not even able to pay it as though they may have intended to want to do it or had the desire to do it somehow. And so just think about how that may be eating away at them. So then they shun away from you. They don't answer your calls. They don't come to the family gatherings. And think about all of that disconnect. And as that disconnect is happening, depression is happening. And then the behaviors from the depression and other anxiety issues happen. Over $1, over $100, over $5, is that really worth it?
Exactly.
So for me, when you have a compassionate heart, like you said, we can be more compassionate towards people out on the street than we can be with people who live amongst us or our relatives and friends. It's something wrong with that philosophy.
You know,
Actually.
my grandmother, one time I was coming home from school, I was mad because I didn't see any food on the stove, and she would cook every day after school, and I was kind of upset about it, you know, because I thought maybe, you know, everybody ate but me. But what it was she had cooked something that couldn't stay out. It needed to be refrigerated and heated back up. But anyway, I kind of went to her pouting, and she was like, "What's wrong with you?" It's my dad's mom. And I was like, "Well, I mean, I'm hungry, you know. I mean, where's the food?" Like I felt entitled, right? But at any rate, she said, "A closed mouth don't
never
get
be
fed."
Yeah.
And I never forgot that, because I think that for a lot of nonprofits, a lot of individuals with visions, ideas, things that they want to do to help the community, help others, they don't open their mouths. Nobody knows what they do. Mm-hmm. And I have for years trained businesses and talked to them and tried to help them scale up, to try to develop business plans or business pitches to sell their products and their wares and their services. And one of the things that I always is tell them, okay, you can have the best pecan praline candy in the world, and everybody loves it in your circle, and you could have a website, but who knows about it?
Yes.
Who knows that you are doing this amazing product, this amazing service? You're doing all these wonderful things for these individuals who need your efforts, your services. Without you, they would be hopeless or helpless. You got to open up your mouth and say something. You have to be known. People have to see what you're doing, and it can't just be you know, some people get mad, like nobody supports us. Mm-hmm. Like I had a guy say, "Man, I've been doing this for 20 years, man, and nobody gives me anything." I said, "Well, do you have a website, or who are you letting know about what you're doing? I mean, do you need a website? I mean, maybe you don't have the resources. What do you need for more people to know about what you do?" But you can't get mad at folks for not knowing who you are and what you do.
Well, you know, one thing I think that's so true, so true. But I think back, I'm a little older now, just a little bit. And when we're growing up, people used to call that prideful and conceited.
Exactly.
So people began not pitching themselves, promoting what they're able to do. So they dummy down, and they feel like, well, I have to be humble about it. And that's how they kind of put it. But you have to understand, as we say, my confidence may kind of bother you, but it's not arrogance, and there's a thin line between being arrogant and being confident. And so when you're confident about what you have, then you'll speak up about it and you'll market it. I'll market anything. I'll sell anything about me that needs to be sold if I want a delivery on it, right? But most people shun away and they never tell you about what they're doing. It's like you have to stumble up on it. And even when you stumble upon it, you have to, it's like pulling teeth to get them to tell you about what it is. It's like you're trying to give them the pitch as they're should be selling you to be able to take the product that they have. And that's with anything that we do.
I'm laughing, Tanya, because I'm sitting here going, I doubt if I've actually shared. Lauren is over there going, she still hasn't told them that K. Davis in the Community is a holistic approach to life. It's mind, body, and spirit.
Yeah.
You know, mind, education, and the scholarships that we give out. Body, health, and wellness. Partnering with people like my husband with Mostly Greens. If you notice, there's always food. My husband's always talking about the food type diet, your blood type diet. He's always going to talk to you about healthy eating, what have you. We have food, so we lead by example, right? And then wellness. You know, I have a daughter who teaches dance, and so and a grandson now who's personal trainer, what have you, and we believe in that kind of thing. And so I partner, you know, I sponsor, you know, shows and stuff. She does things, she's a coach. She says when people have coaches, she says, you know, Mom, these kids, because she works at Addicts across the street, and I'm saying this on purpose, because I'm located in Sunnyside on purpose. This is not by accident. We didn't stumble up over on this land. We picked it. We picked it across the street from the church and across the street from a school. And we went and wrapped our arms around that school. I knocked and found the principal over there, you know, and caught her after school because she was running from us because she felt like, you know, I don't know what they want, you know. And so, and then we told the neighbors over here and over there, we'll build you a fence. So we made have you a little discomfort for a few minutes. But if you just give us a minute, I'll give you a brand new fence and I'll let you have whichever way you want me to turn it. You know how that goes with people with fences and that kind of thing. And then with the church across the street, it's like, geez, okay, we got to meet him. And I mean, such a fantastic person. He let us put our trailers all on his yard, and we found out, gee, he owns all the way down to the end of the block. And so when we have our events, you know, we have ballet, and he uses up, and you guys today, I'm sure you parked over in this lot. But guess what? That's community.
Yes.
See, when I say K. Davis in the Community, when we bought that, we have a business over in Third Ward, our main office. We got 2 buildings we have over there. Well, when I move over there, and then my brother's here tonight, and he told me, you must be out of your mind. Folks gonna steal, you're gonna have, you know, and not that they didn't take the copper at first when we started, what have you, but what we learned from being over there is they're neighbors. We know all of our neighbors.
Yes.
See, everybody lived there don't own the place, but we know all the folk that own the spots and then the folk that live there and all of that. And literally the other night, I had a situation, I just stopped the subject a little bit, but this guy, because we have these big gates, we have the house or whatever and stuff, he was so full, drunk. I mean, he was full, I'm just going to say it. And he pulled up in the driveway and he had just fell asleep. I was in the building, didn't realize, I came out to leave, and I'm like, okay, because, you know, we have all the TSU, the bars for the kids, the things they do to entertain up and around Dow and all that. And so, first thing I thought, listen now, I realized at first I was afraid he was injured. So when I looked in the car, he was leaned over, Jeff, totally, I mean, and I said, sir, and he looked at me and I said, oh God, he's drunk, you know, and so I said, I just need you to put your car on the street. You can, you know, hey, whatever you do. And I realized that, because just somebody to get on the street. But now, then when I realized he could not, I don't know what was, you know, he had one leg out. I sit there very patiently, you know, there was 15 minutes. He walked over. Then he locked himself out of the car. And he's just got to be just one thing after another. But guess what? My first inclination was not to call the police.
Right.
My first inclination was to call my neighbor, Cedric.
Yes.
Because I realized this young man was just
He
drunk.
needed help.
I didn't want to see him go to jail.
Yes.
Right? So I called my neighbor. Now, he was in Nashville, though. He said, girl, I'm not there. You know, so then I called my husband. He was over here, you know, and I'm like, well, because I didn't want to, you know. And next, you know, he was walking around the car. I said, oh, Jesus, it's going to take all night. Next thing I know, he broke all the windows out the back seat. Then I dialed 911. I said, you need some real help, and I can't help you. And it's a funny thing. This is something, Jeff, and I'm saying this because when the police came, and it was one guy came, Hispanic guy, and the guy couldn't speak English very well. No, he wasn't Hispanic. The guy was Hispanic. He couldn't speak English very well, so when he called for backup, I saw another car coming. I said, oh, no, I don't feel like, not tonight, but it was just a female. She was there to interpret. I'm saying all this to say they ended up treating this guy very nice. Now, he realized, now he was smart. He jumped in that back seat And when they came, he said, I wasn't driving.
I wasn't driving.
I can't find the key. I wasn't
He
driving.
wasn't that
My
drunk.
cousin left me here. I laughed so hard, and I left. I told them, they came and they said, at first they said, you got to sign because the tow truck have to take his car. But then after when the police, after a while, he was smoking cigarettes. He was standing out there, and then it was he can call his uncle.
He sobered up.
He gets sober.
The police helped him sober up.
The police say he's gonna pay for his truck when we're gonna tow it if that's okay. I said he's a nice police.
Right.
Nice to him.
I was proud. No, this guy could have been. He didn't speak English very well, so it's all in the climate we're living in. That could have been a whole different kind of policeman, a whole other kind of scene.
Right.
Because they were going to take him to what they said the sobering up tank. I didn't know what that was.
Yes.
Get me? But he sobered up before he left up out of there. And they told it, but my point was, and I told the guy, and the next day I was looking, Tanya, for a place to call to compliment the way they treated him.
Yeah.
I said, it's so very nice of you not to take him to jail. He was just drunk. He's I guess, Jeff, we've been conditioned now. At first I thought he was shot. Then I was worried the police was going to take him to, you know what I'm saying? So look at how I'm conditioned.
It's the compassion.
You get me? That
It's
compassion in me.
towards others. It does not. You cannot cut it on and cut it off.
Right.
When it's genuinely there, it's there. If I see you walking down the street and I see you stumbling over, or you may just be sitting there in distress, that compassion will make me stop. You know, my kids used to tell me at one point, I was in education, of course, you're going to the schools and you see the kids walking home and they start fighting. I'll jump out the car and I'm going to stop everybody. Come on and get home. And they find, Mama, you cannot do that. Why are you stopping messing with these people? But my heart says, I gotta help them, whatever the need is. And I'm so glad to have a pastor, bishop, who has that same heart. A heart for people. And so your heart says, what is the next need? You're not looking to I get to take a break, like those people, other people you were talking about, the twice a year kind of thing, does it? Because it's not about giving a person a hand out, but as Bishop Dixon says, it's about giving them a hand up. You always want to give somebody a hand up. You don't want to leave them where you found them. What a travesty. If we're so great, if we're such amazing people, the people who think they have it, quote unquote, so all together, you can enter into somebody else's life and they have a need and you leave them the way you left them, you found them.
You know, and I don't mean to go down this Bible road tonight, but, it's just in me to do. In the book of John, the 6th chapter, it talks about, y'all heard about it, the disciples was rolling with Jesus and the people were following them, and he was trying to minister to them, and he realized that they was hungry. And so he wanted to feed them because they wasn't really listening to what he had to say, because, their bellies was growling.
Right.
And he saw this kid, one of the disciples said, it's a kid over here that's got 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread, and Jesus told him, to get it and bring it to him. And you talk about sacrificial giving and philanthropy. This little boy, who knows? He could have been selling it. He could have been his lunch. Who knows? But he offered up the 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread for the greater needs of the others because someone asked for it, right? So that's, again, going back to the closed mouth don't get fed.
Yes.
Jesus, even himself, asked for what was needed to take care of others, the masses, and this young boy gave of himself to. So although he doesn't get all of the recognition, because the miracle is the one that's emphasized, the miracle began or was able to come to fruition because of the sacrifice,
the willingness,
the giving,
yes,
the compassion of this young boy to give of himself to allow Jesus to create this miracle to bless other people. And so I think it's important, it's imperative even for us to understand the importance of why we do what we do, and the fact that any small thing, it doesn't matter how great or how small, your small act of kindness and giving can change the world.
Yes.
It can make the biggest, best, greatest impact in the world. So as we're about to close, I do feel like it's appropriate in time for us to talk about how you can give to all of these great institutions, organizations, and things that we're here to highlight today. So we'll start with you and your two efforts. How can people give on this Giving Tuesday and beyond to your two efforts?
Actually, you can go to goodgameusa.org. Click on that banner that says click here to donate, and you can donate. We have our headquarters is at the Community Faith Church. You can drop off toys, you can drop off coats, and let me tell you, putting a coat to warm a child's body definitely warms that heart, and we actually put a hope note in the pockets of those coats. And the kids actually, we're not just giving them a coat, the coats are hanging on coat racks with their sizes. They get to come in, pick out their coat, try their coat on, and snuggle up in it and walk away.
Okay. So one more time.
So give the coats. You go to www. Those old school people, you could just go say goodgang.org. You know, other people on www.goodgang.org.
I still do the
You still do www.
yeah.
But goodgang.org will get you where you need to go. It is our amazing season of hope right now. Join us, donate through volunteering, like you say, your time, your talent, and your treasure. All of it is needed.
Yes. And Kay Davis in the community, how can people give to your efforts?
Okay.
Unless you just want to continue to fund it all yourself.
Well, no. But what I'm going to say, though, first, is that we are going to partner with Tanya to do some things over here. We follow around Bishop Dixon and Rodney Ellis and Boris Miles and all these folk from over in the 5-1, I say, and Bishop Dixon and Sylvester Turner in the 4-4, they say.
Baby!
And so Tanya's efforts, even though it's citywide, they have an effort that's more concentrated in the Acres Homes area, but we're here. And so we'll be a satellite. What did you say you call it, Tanya?
Yes, it'll be a depot here. So
Depot.
there'll be boxes here where you can drop off toys and coats here. We really want to make sure that the students at Addicts and elementary school is also able to have coats during this season. If you notice all the sniffles and the coughing and everything right now, we have to make sure our babies are protected. And what we found that many of them don't have coats, and we also provide coats for the homeless. And we provide gently used coats for the homeless and for the kids' parents. Because most times if the children don't have coats, their parents don't have coats either. Mm-hmm. And so we want to meet those needs.
That's the first thing, and that's the partnership. And I like I said, I have my notes here because I do want to. We've got a few initiatives, and there are 5 initiatives because we're coming into 2025, and literally since 2017, and since I have my good friends here, or what have you, I didn't want to not mention the George Floyd. Work. We've got that statue. You guys go over to Tom Bass Park and go have a conversation with George. It's called A Conversation with George, and we're not going to forget what happened and what changed the world and what made all the differences and things like that after that happened. It's not about, it is about him, but it's not about him. It's about the movement that followed that. We're not going to forget that. We're also coming up on the 5-year anniversary of his death. And I've been asked by, a couple of groups and the commissioner. We've talked with Commissioner Ellis's office. And so, what that will look like, not quite sure yet. We're working on that. So I want you to know that's a thing. Those are the kind of things that I try to make sure that I like to do things that you remember. Because it's like you want to talk about the Bible, Jeff. It's 2 things now. You remember all those different things that they go through, whether it's feast of weeks or all the things that are in the Old Testament. It's only because we're so forgetful. Mm-hmm. As soon as God get us out of one mess, we just right back in another. You get me? And so you have to do things to remind people. That's what anniversaries and things like that are about, to keep it on somebody's mind. That's why I would donate a statue in bronze. My statues are in bronze because they last forever.
Right.
You have to just throw them away. They will not, they'll turn green, you wipe them off, and they'll be all bronze again, what have you. And we don't want people to forget. And when I think about that, when I thought about the policeman, if you look at this behind me or what have you, one of the things that we did, because when we donated the statue, you had so many public officials like Jeff in the audience and stuff, and then of course the good bishop and Rodney and everybody that was there, and it was a wonderful event. But they could not hold like the number of folk that would have filled up that park. So what we did was we got some really great pictures, and we have a photography exhibit. And Tanya, we got a grant, and that exhibit travels for people so that they can enjoy that and get to see and live that moment. If you look at it, it's kind of interesting because I'm thinking, Sylvester's not the mayor anymore. The chief is not the chief anymore. Right. Some people are still there, but as this thing changes, that moment is frozen in time or whatever, and it's there to share. That was the unveiling, and then Tanya, we did a film working with Avery. We did a short film. I have to call it a short film, what have you. It was only 40 minutes. We got an award for it, and it's called The Making of George. What I did was, and it's there on the website, we worked with the artist from the beginning. We gave her a time-lapse camera. And, she's old school. She actually did that in wax first. And then she got it cast. I got to walk through the whole process. When we got it, we brought it in. A-Rocket picked it up for us. We got it there, and Rodney came over. We did this photo shoot, and that kind of thing before we did the installation. And then that was the unveiling. But then we captured it all. And so then we had, working with Dr. Shabazz, who was your guest last Trending Tuesday, what have you, she and the great Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, who's gone, but we've had Erica around. Erica and Sylvester are going to carry on, but she showed up. I didn't even know she was coming. She showed up doing a speech over there in the other room. Right, I think Avery missed the whole speech because he was set up to do that. I mean, those kind of things happen. But I'm saying this to say, K. Davis in the community, our efforts that we have now. I'm not asking you to help me do a statue, right? But what I am asking, when we talk about scholarships in arts, when I gave the scholarships early on to the ensemble theater for their young arts, young talent program, because I stayed there 10 years. So you want to give back for those that gave to you. To me, if you can just do that, that's easier than giving to folk you don't know and for stuff you don't know anything about. That's why it's easy at the church, because when you ask for something, you expect that the church will be there for you, right? So that's one of the initiatives that we have. The RAC grant, if somebody's just kind of interested in that. The other one, we call it an Art Mentee program. One of our mentees is here tonight. She's been around, if you guys will come through to see. She's Texas Southern University graduate. And so if y'all know anything about art, y'all know it's hard. That's a life that she chose. That's not easy, but she's talented. And so we use those dollars that we have and the space that we have to share with others. To me, that's, you talk about God, I feel like for those, if you're blessed to be a blessing. Yeah. And you're supposed to do and look out for other folk. And when you have things, you make it available. God will continue to bless you. What I thought about was when Mary, the other thing was the theater, right? So I had the Kingdom Players at Windsor Village United Methodist Church back in the day, and they did this Seder meal, right? And one of the plays we did, I played Mary because couldn't get somebody short notice, Tanya. And so we had to really, really learn the backstories. And when you got to live those characters in the Bible, you get to see them. They're human people. Right. And Mary, you talk about ask Jesus. Now that day she asked Jesus to turn that water into wine. Yeah. It was because they were having an event at a wedding, and they had run out of wine. And he was like, woman, really? But you my mama.
That was a major need.
That was a major need. No, but it really was a major
need.
But she asked, just like you said, and he did it. Okay, it was an ask. Yes, okay, indeed. I'm going to leave that alone. And then I think the last one is our community arts program and partnership. And that's where we, with our professional artists, the guys, if you know Anj, her mentor, who does all this upside down painting and well, all kind of stuff like that. And or if you know Bimbo, who was a part of the mural work downtown, all that wonderful artwork for mankind, and the one that's on Worthen's side of the building, which we helped pay for. It was whatever and stuff like that. It would stop the gun violence, what have you. These people, what I'm finding is, they come, and it's funny, a lot of people I meet, they're not necessarily from the United States, but art is universal, like music is universal, right? And what I found is their hearts are so big that we say, this is what we're trying to do, and these guys, swoop in, and then they partner with us, whatever we're doing in the schools, and I could go on and on about that. But these are the kind of things, what we call the things that we're doing next year, 2025, I'm just going to ask, it's K Davis in the community, right? And just like you said, .org, and then there's a donate there that you could, we're going to have it now where people can pick the programs they want to work in. And if you're a volunteer, what have you, come and hang out with us. We'll be here every other Tuesday, but there are other things that we'll be doing. So I'm asking Jeff that if they just go check out the website and just participate in the things we're doing, or what have you, I think it'll be worth your while. We try to do things that are fun, and helpful to the community. Tanya, like you, or whatever. I didn't grow up in Sunnyside. I grew up in Conroe, Texas, right? Mm-hmm. But, there's some places that are here, and I live in Pearland, Texas. I'm in my things in Third Ward. I got, so Houston is, it's a big old country. Yeah. Houston's a big old country, and we're in a swamp. Let's be honest, what have you. So I got trees in my backyard, but my husband with his farm to table concept, we can teach people to feed themselves, Tanya.
Yes, and that's what it's about.
We can teach people to feed themselves.
We're going back, you see a lot of community gardens now.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that the majority of the community gardens, basically the foods, if they are sold, they're sold at such a reduced cost. So you can shop there and get more for your dollar than you can going to the grocery store, and it's healthier for you, of course. But a lot of community gardens actually give so much food away to the people in the community.
Exactly.
And it is about community. You talked about, we have in your quote, we have to learn to basically care for one another. We're not living to exist for ourselves. We're living to benefit someone else. And I want to just say, with that being said, I definitely want to commend and thank Danette K. Davis, because this lady here is the real thing, you all. Mm-hmm. Y'all want to say the real deal? I don't want to say Holyfield, because she is the real Danette K. Davis, and I have seen her in action. When did we do the Houston Treasures? How many years ago?
2017, 18.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm getting older again.
Right.
But back then, then I got to hang out and really got to know Danette. I did not know her at all, but I got to know her, and I got to know her heart, and she has not changed. She lives to give. She reminds me so much of myself, and I think she's a little older than me. Maybe.
Oh, Lord, okay.
A little bit, maybe.
Don't answer that. Don't
answer.
No.
That's something we kind of go through. Yeah. But the fact is, she's someone that I can look up to. She's a sister that you want to glean from. And what we have to learn to do is to corral around those who are doing the right thing. And it doesn't have to be that they have to be on a major stage doing it. Many of us want to join what's already great and act like we were part of making it great. No, you just joined into something that was already great. But will you join in and put your hands in making something greater that is great? Because she's doing a great work already. But just think if she had 300 of us to give $500 a month. Think about what she's doing already. What could she be doing with that extra, what is that, $15,000? 300 times 5?
Oh, 300 times 15. So what's that? What was it, 15,000? We're doing some math.
What would you do with that? What would you do with it?
Yeah.
And so sometimes we think that we have to, I don't have $100, I don't have $500. But look at all of those political campaigns that ask you for those $3. I know, because I get those texts all the time. Can you just chip in $3? $5.
Right.
You know, so let's chip in where we can. All of us can do something, and if all of us do something, much can be done. But if none of us do nothing, then we're going to see our people and our communities continue to deteriorate, and we'll always be looking for a savior to come riding through, and that savior is not going to come
Right.
with just gifts to give to you. It's going to cost you everything that you have at that point. So let's get on the bandwagon. You say let's build a village.
Yes.
Let's build the village together, and we can sustain and live life happy.
Yeah, one partnership at a time. That's our theme this year, and we are inviting you guys. We are having our holiday party, but we're mixing up a little bit with a fundraiser, a little bit. We'll have our band and our DJ, and then we have our party like we always do. We're going to do it over at the other space, but we're saying it takes a village. Building one community, building our community one partnership at a time. But we always have a good time, great food and stuff, so I'm telling you guys about that now. So Jeff, that's it. Just kdavisinthecommunity.org.
And bring your coats, right?
Oh,
To the party.
exactly.
Bring
We're going to
your
go all the
coats.
way through, the 21st, I think is what you're,
right.
yeah. And the party is on the
distribution
14th.
day. Now, let me tell you, on December 15th, we are having a blessing of the coats and toys. We always do that. So the 15th, you come, bring your things in. That's going to be a big day for us. But on December the 22nd at 5
that's the
o'clock
party.
p.m., you're going to get to see thousands of children being blessed with toys. And those who can't get there, guess what we do? We put them on the trailers and we take them to them.
Yes. So y'all got
All right.
y'all's marching orders. These wonderful organizations and entities. Before we sit down, I have a couple of my own I wanted to just throw out there real quick. Everybody may not know, but I attended and graduated from the greatest high school in the history of mankind, the Jack Yates Senior High School out of the historic Third Ward, Houston, Texas. And, you talked about George Perry Floyd Jr., who I went to both Ryan Middle School and Yates with Big Perry Floyd. And, it's always, surreal, when I go back and think about even, being at home that day when I saw him on camera with that knee on his neck, not even knowing that that's who it was. I just saw a guy with a knee on his neck like, man, that's jacked up what they did to that dude, to come and find out this is someone that I actually personally knew and was a classmate of mine. But at any rate, we started a George Perry Floyd Scholarship initiative at Jack Yates High School. We've provided well over $28,000 since his passing, and we started this to worthy school students who pursue post-secondary education efforts, and also if they're seeking trades. And so we also recently, there was a need, the principal, Stephanie Square, who was a Jack Yates High School graduate who came back home to educate and oversee those young future scholars at Yates, those rising freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors. So what I did not know is that around 75% of the student population, they have dress code. Mm-hmm. And about 75% of the student population, either did not have the proper polo shirts, or they may have had just one. And so they allow you to have red, black, gold, and or white. But she was like, Jeff, if they're not in dress code, then they have a consequence.
Right.
And mostly it could be in-school suspension or being sent home and unable to be educated.
Right.
And so she reached out to me. I'm the president of the Jack Yates National Alumni Association, have been for several years. And one of the things that we pride ourselves in doing as alumni of this great institution is making sure that those current students, the faculty, the administration, principal, everybody over there has what they need. Mm-hmm. And that we protect our students, protect our legacy, and our alumni base. But at any rate, we didn't want to see those consequences happen to those students. So what we did as an alumni association is we reached out to our alumni base, and also I solicited donations. I opened my mouth and asked for some money and received some money, and we were able to donate 120 polo shirts to Yates last week. About $1,000 worth of shirts to them, and so one of the things that I told them at the school is to please give us your list of items, because some things may be kind of an immediate thing, but then we started finding out there were young ladies who needed, hygiene products and toiletries, and some of the young men and women, and some of them, didn't even have places to stay. They were living. Homeless means that you don't have a permanent home,
Right.
And so a lot of them were without permanent housing, shelter, and so there's a lot of needs, and so we're working with the administration, working with the faculty over there to try to address many of those needs. So jynaa.org is where you can go. Again, that's jynaa.org to contribute and give to our efforts to try to help through scholarships, as well as the immediate needs of the students at the school and the administration. Another entity, I'm also a part of the greatest Greek letter fraternity in the world, and that's Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, and I serve on the board of directors of our foundation of my chapter, Minya Nu, called the Bridge Builder Charity Foundation, and every year we provide scholarships, $1,000 scholarships to each student, and this past year we gave out 23 scholarships, and we've been giving out at minimum 15 or more to African American students who are seeking to pursue four-year college choices, post-secondary education. So that is BBCF Inc, BBCF Inc, bbcfinc.org. So hopefully you would give it, find it in your heart to contribute and give to those organizations. There's no big I's, little U's, no little amount or big amount. We want it all. We don't mind the money that makes noise, but we prefer the silent kind that folds. But at any rate, please consider giving to the organization. Last two things as we close. I got on my socks.
That was his gift.
It's Christmas. My gift last time, and now I'm ready for somebody in the audience to call on Jesus to turn this water to wine. And so we get up out of here. All right, y'all. Let's get up out of here.
All right. Thank you.
Y'all for joining us for Training Tuesdays, y'all. See you.
Okay.